When I turned 16, my parents told me to get a job. And as any kid who wants to listen to their parents, I started working at our local Chick-fil-A in town. After 4 years of working there, I realized that fast food is one of the worst types of jobs you can have. You're surrounded by customers who are making more money than you, looking down on you, and even making snide comments while expecting you serve them as best as you can, or as Chick-fil-A called it, going the second mile. But after working at Chick-fil-A, for some reason I stayed in this hellscape of an industry. I have worked retail, grocery stores, bar jobs. I've worked so many jobs in this sector, and I can confidently say that this is one of the most exploitive industries in our country. And to clarify for this video, it's kind of more of a rant. The overall goal of this video is just to say that people in these industries are exploited, they're overworked, they're underpaid, and they are treated like shit. So to start off, I'm just going to kind of tell my experience about working at Chick-fil-A and just fast food and food service in general. And I'll also kind of touch on what needs to change for these industries to treat their workers better and be more ethical. So like I said, when I turned 16, I started working at Chick-fil-A. Now, at Chick-fil-A, I think my store was specifically pretty bad, especially on the exploitive line. The job I worked at was mainly a bunch of high schoolers, and I don't know if that was just my region or if that's others, because every time I go to other Chick-fil-A's now, I see that most of those people are high schoolers. Anyhow, it was very evident that our boss knew that they were hiring high schoolers because they controlled us to a T. We had to put our phones in lockers before our shift. We only got 15-minute breaks for an 8-hour shift where we couldn't use our phones or we couldn't leave the property. During the summer, we had to stand out and take orders on iPads, and before they had the AC or even gave a crap about us out there, we would have multiple people pass out in a summer because the heat was so bad. And whenever we'd ask to go inside, our managers would kind of just blow us off or get annoyed. The craziest part about all of that is when we were outside, our iPads would die, and they would have to have a specific person run out new iPads that were cooled down to give to us. And it's just kind of a good representation of how these industries operate. Now living on my own, I still work a retail job, and I am making barely enough to scrape by. This is scary to me just because I don't have any debt. I don't have anything that I have to pay for that goes on in the next month other than rent and the necessities, but I have to wonder how many people are actually staying afloat off of this. And the more I thought about it and the more perspectives I sought out, I realized they're not. I have multiple coworkers who are on food stamps currently, which is crazy considering my job at a grocery store doesn't pay its workers enough to afford groceries to where they have to go on food stamps to buy groceries, which they then buy from the grocery store. So in a way, the grocery store is basically getting subsidized by the government to not pay their employees enough. And if that's not bad enough, you have to deal with the customers who look at you and they think of you as second-class citizens where you're supposed to wait hand and foot over them for the stupidest crap. These same people don't think you should be paid more or paid a living wage. And at the same time, they'll complain about people on government handouts and benefits. And it's just such a bizarre thing for our culture to demonize workers of any kind, really, considering this is the land of freedom and opportunity and all of that stuff. That's another separate conversation. And I do think working a fast food or retail job for maybe a summer or two in college, or if you just need to do that to get by, there's nothing wrong with that, and you should not be ashamed of that. But if you have the opportunity, you do not need to be in these types of jobs unless A, you love it, or B, it's the only thing you can manage right now. Aside from that, I think it's good experience to show you what the average person is going through. It teaches empathy, patience, resilience. These are good jobs for skill building in those areas, but they're just so underpaid, and you are treated like garbage from your boss, the customers, or if you have a very toxic boss, your coworkers too. So what's the solution for all of this? How do we fix something like this in our society? And the answer is pretty simple. Raise the minimum wage. I think I'm preaching to the choir here, but anyone who has worked these jobs or had to be at a job where you have to maintain a budget and constantly monitor your spending. I can't even imagine people with kids working at these jobs, which is a lot of my coworkers who are single moms or single parents. And I think what we need is simply a safety net. We need free healthcare. We need to raise the minimum wage. We need to do something about companies buying up real estate or apartment complexes and then charging out the ass for you to even get a home. Those are just three things that most developed countries have. And that's disqualifying healthcare, which almost every country on earth has some sort of universal healthcare. Our system is so genuinely cooked by businesses and our government. We need to completely reevaluate how we perceive workers and our society. So this video was just kind of a rant, but if you were to take away anything from it, it's basically that you are closer to the homeless person on the street or the person who has nothing than the billionaire who is telling you that the problem is poor people. So I think a good takeaway from this video is everyone is trying their best right now, and at the end of the day, their best is all they know.